Hands back, you make me. Hello. How long have I been live? Like 18 seconds? Okay, give me 1 second. I don't even think I'm going to take the GRE. I was like, I know I was talking to my buddy yesterday because he's going to be going to, he's going to be applying for grad schools. I was like, wait, have I been talking about that lately? Like, I don't think I have been. What am I doing? Hi. A minute in. Oh, hello. So my selenite ball fell yesterday when I was putting the cards back. Oh wow! Look, I got my little mouse right here, just in case. My selenite ball fell, and I have this TV right here, and it fell behind the TV, and then the ball rolled forward after a minute, and I got it before it hit the floor. And I can't find my little ring stand. So I was looking for my little ring stand. I just found my TV remote, which I've been meaning to look for. And I had misplaced. Oh, I was going to turn on my meditation playlist. I'm going to be listening to meditation music nearly 24/7 for the next, I don't know how many days, just to keep myself in a good little transmuting place, right? So peaceful meditation playlist is fun. So I find my remote behind the TV, which was weird because it was in front of the TV. Like I feel like it would have had to go through the TV without going through the TV to end up behind the TV, but it was behind the TV. And I couldn't find my AirPods. So I was looking on the floor and I found these two babies chilling. I don't even remember when the last time I used this deck was. I'm going to start counting my cards before I use them. The Four of Cups and the Star. And this gives me that, like, I'm fine waiting energy. And then at the top of the deck was the Four of Wands. Bottom of the deck was the Eight of Cups before. So it's kind of similar in wanting something, but I guess not necessarily having it. And the Page of Wands was before that, Four of Wands. And I'm just going to shuffle these up to get those back in there, I guess. So yeah, I didn't even know they were sitting out. I had a dream last night. Well, I had a few dreams last night that were interesting. In the second dream, I was in a classroom setting. Well, I was with my brother. Like, I wasn't with my brother, but I was apparently with my brother. And I guess we were in school because we were going from one class to the next. And someone was like, well, the train departs in like 3 minutes, and that'll be the train that gets you quickest to that class. And like, if you leave now, you'll make it. And so I was going to leave, but then I see this flight of stairs, and I was like, it would be quicker if I just take the stairs. Like, it's like literally up one floor. I don't like, why would I have to go catch a train to go upstairs? It's better to just go upstairs. So I went upstairs and instead of trying to take a train, what's this? The Queen of Wands and the World. And so I get to class, right? And I have a feeling that, like, I'm kind of sort of rushing. Is that the Four of Wands? No, it's the Knight of Swords with the King of Cups on the bottom of the deck. Did anything else flip over? I'm kind of sort of rushing the class, and usually, like, I don't know, like, I would hang out and chit chat or whatever, but I'm like, I need to, because whenever there's a test in a class, I try to get there a little bit early so I can, not be running late, just to make sure I'm not late. And so I'm sitting in there before the class, and my brother sends me these text messages. He's like, wow, like, you're really just going to, like, leave without me? Like, I can't believe that, blah, 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 whatever. Like, he was upset with me for going to class a little bit early to make sure I wasn't late for the test that we were taking. And I guess he felt that he wasn't prepared. Because, like, it feels like we were together before I rushed to take this test, but I don't really remember what I was doing or where I was before somebody was like, if you get on the train in 3 minutes, you'll get there like in plenty of time. But I was like, well, I can get there even quicker if I just take the stairs. Um, but then I was like, it's not my fault that you haven't been to class for months and I can't take this test for you anyway. Like, if you knew this test was today, you should have been getting prepared for it. It's not my fault. It's not my problem. But he was salty with me. I was just like, whatever. You wouldn't come into class anyway. So then I get to, like, I'm in the classroom, right? People are starting to come in. It's a whole bunch of people from like middle school. It's interesting that a lot of times I dream about class. It's like never college. It's never people I met in college, even though I've done college for a long time. Um, and so we get these papers. And first of all, the teacher is this one woman who has an amazing heart. I love her. But if, like, a teacher, a teacher of some things, yes, sure. A teacher for whatever this class was, I'm like, no. Ooh, there's the title card and the Queen of Pentacles. So title card, Queen of Pentacles says, all right, put the cards down, quit shuffling. I'll give it a cut. Okay. Um, and so, like, she's just not that type of person who, like, like, for the class that we were in, I knew that she wasn't knowledgeable enough in that to, like, she can proctor the exam. Yeah, fine. Like, sure, you just make sure people aren't cheating or whatever. But, like, if you have questions, like, she wouldn't have been the type of person, or she wouldn't have been the person to ask if you had questions. Not the type of person. She wouldn't have been the person to ask if you had any questions. And so, we get the test and she's talking. I'm already just like looking at the test, seeing like what's on it. And then I'm like, because I'm texting my brother, like, it ain't my fault you ain't been to class, but now I'm looking at this test like, have I been to class? Like, what is this? But I wasn't like freaking out. I'm just like, because all of it, it's like, I guess, like, I don't know, a lot of people have taken tests, right? So it's like stuff that you feel like you've been exposed to. And so then I noticed like a bunch of people talking, and some of my middle school, high school buddies, like, who we would kind of sort of, I don't know, group up together a lot, I guess. They were all sitting next to me and like talking to each other. And so I guess it was like a open note, open. It was like a open. It was a test, but like you could talk to your neighbors to do the test, right? So you could work together. And I remember, like, if I'm not prepared for something, I don't like showing up. Like, if we're having a potluck or something like that, first of all, if this is like a work function and we're having a white elephant, we're having a secret Santa, we're having a potluck, whatever, I'm not participating because I'm not using my money on people that I too much like. It's like, I like y'all, but like, that's my money. My money is for me and my wants and my needs. I don't have any kids right now, so I can afford to, be a little selfish with my money. I'm not spending my money on coworkers. Hello? No. Especially like a random one. And so a lot of times I just prefer to not go. Like, and if we have a potluck, then it's like I don't eat. I'm not gonna, like, if I don't bring anything, I'm not gonna eat anything. Like, I'm not the type of person that'll like show up with nothing and try to eat everything. It's like, if I'm not coming with nothing, I'm not gonna eat nothing. I'm not gonna eat anything anyway. And so I felt like I wasn't like prepared enough to really contribute to the group. So I was just like doing it by myself. And like, so there are three people in this dynamic, right? Three other people besides me. So we're in a group of four. There's another group. There's like groups all over the place, right? Because we're in this classroom, but we're kind of sort of grouped up in fours, threes and fours. Um, but so like I'm part of this group, because we're sitting together, but I don't want to be part of this group as far as like talking to them. And then the teacher is up there just talking about all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, girl, like Linda, like, what are you doing? That's her name. I love Linda, but I love Linda, but she got questions and it's fine. And she's very resourceful. Like she knows who to go to when she needs something done. But again, it's like if you're supposed to be I mean, you can be the resource and know how to be resourceful. But anyway, so I'm looking at these questions like, what? Like knowing that the information is in my brain, but it's not right there. So I don't have anything to contribute to a group or a conversation. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just sit back and like do my test. But I'm also listening at the same time, right? Because hello, why wouldn't I? It's like we're all collaborating together. And so it's like I'm not asking any questions of anybody, but if they're speaking loud enough where I can hear them, then I'm gonna listen because why wouldn't I? You know. And so I'm listening to what other people are talking about, and I'm listening to what she's saying. And there's this one question that was like, "What's the worst thing about like going to the beach or like a beach vacation or something like that?" And I don't think that like I didn't see that question on my test, but I guess it was on somebody else's. And she was the teacher, and so she was like telling us stuff, but not. And so she was like, when I go to the beach, it's like either I can wear like a two-piece bikini or a one-piece bikini, maybe a hat, and then like I can bring something else. Like I feel like if I go to the beach, like if like I have a week-long vacation and I go to the beach, people are gonna think I'm wearing the same thing every day because there's not a lot of different stuff I can wear to the beach. And so I'm listening to her and I'm like, okay, because I'm very observant, right? And so I'm looking at my questions and I'm looking at I'm listening to what the teacher is saying. And I'm like, okay, so this test isn't objective. This test is more subjective than anything. I was like, okay, got it. Now, I still don't know what any of this stuff is talking about. So I need to look at the question and then I guess like put myself in the situation and then like feel it out and then write down that answer. And so I began to write a little bit, just a little bit. I mean, honestly, I was just like reading, like, what, flip the page, read some more, like, what, flip the page, like trying to find a question I can answer on this test to do something. And one of my buddies who was he is who he is. But anyway, he keeps looking at my paper and I'm like, can you not? And like at first he was looking at it because like I'm refusing to participate or I'm refusing to join their group, right? So he's looking at me like you obviously like don't know anything on this test and you're gonna fail. You need us, so just join our group. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna join the group. And so every time I would flip a page and he would see that it was blank, he would kind of sort of like smirk and giggle a little bit. And of course it was annoying me. So I'm like trying to hide my paper. But then after that example, I was like, oh, okay. So I understand what this test is really about. It's not about the question. It is, but it's not. It's about more than just the question being asked, I guess. Um, and so then at one point he was like, like, you're not even writing. Well, my other friend, he was like, you're not even writing anything. And I was like, I'm going to ace this test. Like, I'm going to be fine. Like, y'all need to worry about y'all little group up there, and I'm not going to join you. So, like, stop trying to look off of my paper. And so like I moved my desk back to try to put some distance and somebody else moves their desk closer to me and I'm starting to get annoyed. I'm like, I put my paper in the desk and I try to write and then like they come up and they like look in the desk. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then there was somebody just straight up on the computer at the back of the classroom. And somebody like, ooh, they turned him in. So I guess we could talk to each other, but we couldn't use the internet. And there was one computer in the classroom and he was back there and somebody said something about blue boxes or blue check marks or something like that. And then that let the teacher know that he was on the computer. He got in trouble. And like the teacher is like, Linda, And so I'm up here thinking like, oh, he about to fail the whole class or something, something about to go down. And she's just like, wow, I can't believe you would go back there and cheat and then you would do this and you would do that. Like, just sit there and think about what you've done. And, I felt like not that he should have been punished harder, but I guess I just assumed that her reaction would have been different and that he would have been something, but like it was less severe than I thought. And I think it was just that like it ended up working out something like he had to sit out that round of the test. Like he failed that round, but he would, get the opportunity to come in and do it whenever the retest is. And I was like, oh, he about to fail the whole class, like, because he cheating on the test. But she was like, no, like this round, you failed. Try again next time. I'm like, what? That's it. So anyway, that happened, right? And then there was something on the computer screen that was like green dashes and blue check marks, or it was like green dashes and blue X's or something. And it was very much like it's like whenever you look at, you're comparing things on the internet and they show you multiple things and it'll say something and then it'll have like a dash or a check if that model has that feature or not. It kind of sort of looked like that. Um, and so we're taking this test. I figure out what's going on, right? And so then I fill mine out and I told them, I was like, I'm going to be fine. Because they were like, oh, you should. And I went to go tell the teacher. I was like, they keep trying to look off my paper and I'm not working with them. Can you like say something? And she was like, well, it doesn't seem like you're really prepared. So maybe you should work with them. And I'm like, that is not the answer I was wanting. So basically, I started working on the test, but like, it's like it looked like I wasn't working on the test, but I was because I knew that if I started to do too much, they would look off of my paper. And I was like, as long as I pretend to be clueless, then if they look at me, they'll just laugh, right, at me not like being confused or whatever. But in reality, like I'm filling out the test. And so it was like midway through the dream, she's like, the test results are back. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, like how do we do? And she's like, the person with the higher score is Patrick, and he had 9 more points than the person who came like after him. And then the group in front of me, they were like, what? I was like, yeah, I told you I was gonna ace this thing. And then I don't know if like they were surprised or upset that I didn't work with them, but I guess like because at first, like when I had the dream, I didn't really get it, and I wrote it down in my little app so I wouldn't forget it, even though I was trying to go back to sleep, but I didn't anyway. And I'm gonna get to the dice at the same time. So hey, let's do that. But I guess like talking about the dream, like if the dream is subjective, then it's almost like working in groups. And I guess it kind of sort of goes back to the Hierophant energy yesterday. It's almost like working in a group actually makes it harder because it's like with the test being so subjective, it's like like what would you do? How does this affect you? How do you move forward? Right. And so it's like if you have multiple people, like they may do things in a different way, but if they're all trying to get consensus, then it would be more difficult for them to get the quote unquote right answer, right? Because like let's say that they wouldn't all do the same thing, but like if they have a top five, then like they'll find the one that's on all of their top fives. So it might be one for one person, but it could be two or even five for somebody else. I don't know. I got 2 bags of dice. I'm gonna jumble them up and then I'm gonna throw them down. But it was interesting because I was like, what? Oh, we got the heart chakra and we have three. Three is air. We have an air from the heart, which is communication, communicating from the heart. But yeah, it was interesting. I got one die on top of another one. I'm gonna take a picture of this and show y'all because this is interesting. Also, I woke up and people are starting to follow me on Instagram. I ain't even really posted on Instagram. I'm like, who is y'all? What y'all want? What y'all following me for? So I just set these down. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you see how that one came out on top of the other one somewhere? Let me zoom in so I can actually see it. There we go. You see how that one came out on top of the other one? Those are the only two that did that. So we have green and gray, which is interesting because green is the heart space, but gray is the gray area, more or less. And this is a two, which is the sacral. Okay. Um, so yeah, and then I guess in hindsight, it's like because I guess in the waking world, I'm like, well, should I have participated with the group? Was it selfish of me to? But at the same time, it's like if I would have done that, I wouldn't have done as well as I did. So I don't know. It was an interesting dream. All right, let me get into these, I guess. I just wanted to talk about that for some reason. Here's another two. So we got double sacral in the gray set. Here's a five. Five is Leo. Here's 18. 18 is the moon, and that's with the heart set. So that's interesting. Here's a seven with this set. So we got the crown on the heart. Here's another seven. So we have Scorpio with the heart. Here's a five. Ooh, so the heart has the throat and the crown. The gray set has the sacral twice. Um, let's see. So the gray set has a two, which is earth. So we have earth and air being our two elements. The chakras are the sacral, the throat, and the crown. 24, that's going to be, I've had 24 before. I think that's the two of essences, I believe. Let me look at it. Let me make sure. I've been seeing 1010 a lot too lately. I know I talked yesterday about some of the numbers I've been seeing. It's like I see 1010 and 1212 more than 1111. But it's 1107 right now. So, but it's like, yeah, they were really shook. They were shook that I scored the highest. And I'm like, y'all should know me by now. Hello? Like I didn't like I knew like when I looked at the questions, I was like, what is this? But I knew I would figure it out. And I did. So hey. 24 is the three. 22, 3, 4. The three of essences. And I've seen the three of essences before. The three of essences, last time I saw it, I still need to write down what all these mean. And then after I write down what they all mean, instead of using the dice, I want to like go out and actually build a deck around these. Um, but the three of essences is what comes after the two parts of us have come together as one. After we've reconciled our light and our shadow, it's the thing that is birthed as a result of that, with the shadow being the feminine, the masculine being the light. And then you have this child that they create, right? A child that is of both the light and the dark. And that's essentially us. But if we like, you know how sometimes you have a baby and it's like, oh, you look just like your mom. You know, that's a shadowy person. Because, you know, the shadow is whatever. It's more subtle, more subconscious, right? Not the way we use light and shadow is, if we're talking about light and shadow and their higher aspects, right, then the shadow is just the part of the light that's not the light. It's the part of the light that remains unseen. It's the influence of the light that you can't visibly perceive, but it is a direct result of that light. You just can't see it, right? Because once you get further away, further and further and further and further away, right? It's like it gets so diluted by the distance that you can't see that light. But as you get closer to it, it's more concentrated. It's very much that feeling. Now these I can barely see because this is like yellow on white. Oh, girl, what is this? Is this a 6? No, it's a 5. So here we have the Hierophant. The Hierophant is with the gray set, y'all. The Hierophant is coming out with the double sacral. Sacral is Venus. Hierophant is Venus. Okay. I'm kind of sort of low key watching the clock. Low key, low key. No, this is a 5. No, this is a 0. This is a 30. So this is 30 over here. So we're in the suit of essences on both sides. We have the 3 of essences in the gray set and the 9 of essences. We have 3 of essences with the heart, the 9 of essences in this gray area. And the gray area is kind of sort of an in-between space. Honestly, a lot of times the gray set comes out, it's not that great. But I try not to project not that great onto the gray set. So the 9 of essences would be nearing completion. 9 is a number of completion. 9 and 10, I guess how I look at it. 9 and 10 are both numbers of completion, but 10 is more so like focused on the continuation of the journey ahead, where 9 is more so sitting at the end of one, right? So 10 could also be reflection and rumination, or it could be entering a brand new cycle as a result of the one that you just came out of. But we're at the 9. And so when it comes to essences, how I sort of view, and again, I need to break down these. Once I break them down, it'll be able to be more consistent between them. So maybe I shouldn't, because consistency isn't something that I'm about. I'm a Pisces. There you go. You see that? Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. 11, 11. So the journey of the essence is a journey of self-discovery, just like the journey of the soul. But the journey of the essence is different because with the journey of the soul, it's like the journey of the soul is a continuous journey. You're always moving closer and closer and closer and closer, or you're not, to the light. But the soul is the part of us that can't be broken down. It's the indivisible spark, right? Now, when it comes to the essence is like the soul would be the atom or the quarks in the atom, depending on how much science you've taken or know. The soul would be the quarks in the atom. It would be like the subatomic particles, right? Because in the atom you have the okay, yeah. So let's talk about an atom, right? So the essence would be the atom as a whole. The soul collectively is the protons, the neutrons, and the electrons, and then the quarks that make up those protons, neutrons, and electrons, right? And so it's like with the soul being the parts of the atom and the essence being the atom itself, it's like they're related and they're very similar, but they're subtly different. And so the journey of essences is the journey of us kind of sort of breaking apart and then coming back together. Whereas like a soul, you can't break apart, right? And so it's like this spiritual purification, sensory deprivation tank that we go into, where it's like we go into this tank and we just like dissolve into whatever this fluid is. And as while we're dissolved in this fluid, we get to look at separate pieces of us. We get to look at all of who we've become. And so as we go through piece by piece, we learn this is me, this is not me. This is me, this is of me, this is not me. This is me, this is of me, this is of someone else, this is someone else, that's someone else's hopes and dreams, this is someone else's fears that have somehow managed to get inside of me. When did that happen? Right? So when we're all dissolved in this tank, we get to look at all of these pieces of us, both our light and our shadow. And then we bring them all together as a whole. It's like we reconstitute. I don't know if that's the word, but we reconstitute ourselves. We reassemble ourselves as whole free of all of the things that weren't actually us, but that had attached to us or managed to worm their way inside of us, right? And again, it's all about accepting the light and the shadow. So if you call pieces of you not you because you don't like how they look, then you've just lost a piece of yourself, right? And so maybe that's kind of sort of where we're sitting with the nine, where we are almost there, but there are pieces of us. And this came out with the gray set. Yeah. Okay. So this is probably the shadow because it's the gray set. There are pieces of our shadow that we have not yet accepted or healed or integrated. And it's like without that integration, we can't reach the 10. And you have to reach the 10 before you can begin to master that element, right? Because the court cards come after the 10. So before you can be a page, or before you can be initiate, before you can be an initiate, before you can be a scholar, before you can be a teacher, before you can be a sage, you must reach that 10 spot. And so there's almost this feeling of like trying to skip over that 10 and trying to go right to that initiate or scholar phase. And it's like you're trying to come into, it's like you're developing a mastery that is inherently flawed. And it's inherently flawed because it doesn't incorporate all of who you are. And so this is like when I was talking about yesterday, I guess, when you have these pieces of old space junk who think that they're stars in the sky, but because they stop or because they get complacent or because they get like they feel that they're so much further than other people, they sort of like begin to hone that, but there are still pieces of themselves that they haven't integrated or pieces of themselves that are missing. And so that's why, they might look like a star, but if you know how to tell the difference between like a satellite and a star, then you would know that satellites don't twinkle. And what's the thing about twinkling, right? Twinkling is like, you see the light and then you don't. It's almost giving me this like Morse Cody type of vibe, right? I don't know if anyone's ever seen Parasite, but they do Morse code with lights instead of like with sounds, right? And there's this one dude who's a Boy Scout or whatever. And so he's like, I know that the kid knows what this means, even if no one else in the house knows what this means. I know that the kid knows. And so they're doing Morse code with light. And so it's almost like to receive the message, you already have to know Morse code. And not only do you have to know Morse code, you have to be paying attention at the same time. And so it's like with these other stars that aren't the sun in our galaxy, in our solar system, in our night sky, there are like these messages that they give us. But number one, we have to be paying attention. Number two, we have to be open and willing to receive the message. Number three, we have to be able to decode the message. And then number four, we have to actually like move forward with it, right? Ooh. I turned my fan up last night because it's getting hot. And whenever I turn my fan up, my throat get messed up. I need a humidifier because if I had a humidifier, I don't know if it's like the fan dries out the air in my room or something, but it seems that if I use a humidifier and I turn on the fan, then I'm fine. But it's the summertime, so it should be plenty humid. So I don't know. Maybe that's more so the winter. Anyway, where did the scratch come from? Um. So yeah, it's like the people who are kind of sort of satellites, thinking that they're stars, but I guess it also speaks to an element of dynamism, right? Being able to be dynamic because nothing is static. And so that's another thing with the star, right? And maybe that's another reason why it twinkles because it's like when things shift, the wavelength shifts, and then things shift again, it goes off, shift the wavelength, project. Things shift, shut down, switch the wavelength, project. Like that's the twinkle, right? Instead of it being always on. It's like, how are you always on if things have changed, right? Now, maybe for some people, there is this like steady progression of like increasing the wavelength. So it gets brighter, 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 brighter. and then like dimmer, 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 without like shutting off, and then boom, we're here. Boom, we're there. Boom, we're here. Boom, we're there. Right. That's like walking up the stairs to get to class instead of waiting for the train. Waiting for the train and then taking the train and then getting off the train and then going to class when you could literally just go upstairs. Because I remember, like, I walked out the room and I look at the stairs. I'm like, wait, that class is right upstairs. What would I take a train for? I'm just go upstairs. I must not have been feeling lazy that day because I didn't look for an elevator and I didn't take the train. I took the stairs. Um, what am I talking about? The nine investments is, yeah. So it's like, without that integration, and then maybe that's another reason why stars twinkle, because as humans, we're always integrating. So in that moment that we shut down, we shift our wavelength, we integrate, we heal, whatever, and then we come back online. Right. And it's not that you can't do this continual process, because I feel like I've been doing a fairly continual process, but I'm not going to say I'm a star or a space junk because, I guess personally kind of sort of I would feel no, I kind of sort of I pull back when I need to pull back. It may be like a few days or like a night sometimes, but I try to be a star. I strive to be a star, be continuously evolving and facing the things that I know I need to face, because it's like it just comes to you. You're like, "Oh, remember this thing that you used to think? Yeah, it limits you in this way now." And you're like, what? Really? And they're like, yeah, like, it kind of sort of didn't like it mattered, but it kind of sort of didn't matter because you weren't at this space yet. And you kind of sort of needed to hang on to that to get to the other lessons that you had to get to. But now that you have those things, you can put this thing down and you can go get a new thing, right? It's like if I have a toaster, a blender, and a refrigerator, you know, until I acquire something that can toast, blend, and refrigerate all at once, I need the three separate appliances. It doesn't matter when it comes out. If I don't have it, then I still need the three separate. So it's like I got to get the new thing before I let go of the three old things, right? Because if I let go of the three old things before I get the new thing, then I don't have anything. So that's the nine. And we have the three and the nine, which is interesting, right? So that would be Gemini and Sagittarius. We have the three in the heart, and then we have the nine in the gray set. South node Sagittarius, north node Gemini, coming from the heart. Okay, so that's these two. Oops. Right, that's these two. So we have, and again, the three is what happens when our light and our dark come together in unison, and they create together, and they give birth to something new, right? The nine is where we are reassembling ourselves. Now, if the nine came out in the heart space, I would say that there are some pieces of our light that we have that like we've been neglecting, we haven't yet assembled. There are some good qualities that we have that maybe we get taken advantage of for, like maybe we're like really nice and really kind, and so it's easy for us to attract people who will just use us. And we're in that spot of like, I'm never going to be this nice again because I only get used. And it's like, okay, well, there's pieces of your life that you're never going to integrate and assimilate, that's the word I was looking for yesterday. There's a difference between assimilation and appropriation, because folks will force you to assimilate. And then if they can't take what they want from you, then they say, oh, you're appropriating. And it's like, no, we're assimilating because you literally kill people who don't. So there's a difference. You kill people who don't, and then you kill people who do. So, you know, and that's a very general, very collective view. Because, historically. And then, people who justify it, or people who find reasons and ways to excuse it. And it's like, okay, but you don't need a reason and excuse when it's this, but you will find every excuse in the book when it's somebody else. Okay, got it. You may not see it, but it is glaringly obvious. And it's kind of sort of sad, I guess. Anyway, that's the word I was looking for yesterday. It was assimilation. So So it's, yeah, it's like it's like you're refusing to assimilate these things that are of you, looking at them as if they are not, right? Now, since this came out in the gray set, I'm going to say it's more parts of the shadow. Like, we all fall in areas, we're not all perfect. And we need to realize and recognize where that is, because when we understand our weaknesses, we know how we can compensate for them with our strengths. And it reminds me of this one part of Naruto. There's this person who has like 359 degrees of vision, right? And he's fighting this other dude. And this other dude is like, he uses all of these ranged attacks. He's the dude sent to fight this dude. He's like his perfect match, right? Because this dude, even though he has 359 degrees of vision, he's a very like close combat type of person, right? And so the other guy knows that he has this like amazing visual field. And so he's attacking from all of these different directions to find out where his blind spots are. And so he finds out where the guy's blind spot is, and he hits him. And he's like, haha, I found your blind spot. And he's like, I'm about to finish this dude off. Right. And he launches this super powerful attack. But the guy like finds out where he is, and he knows. So, like, fun fact, this dude knew his blind spot already. And so instead of focusing on everything that he could see, right? Instead of focusing on the 359 degrees of things that he could see, the whole time he was focusing on the 1 degree that he couldn't see, because he didn't know where that person was. Like, the person was far enough away that even though he has this amazing vision, like, it was with like degrees wise, it's like, in there, but distance wise, he was outside of it. But instead of focusing on the 359 degrees that he could see, he focused on the 1 degree that he couldn't see. And as soon as, like, that's why he took the hit, or when he took the hit from that, then he knew, okay, that guy is back there. And he also knew that that guy is like, that's where he's going to attack me from, because why wouldn't he? That's my blind spot. But if I'm more knowledgeable and aware of my own blind spots, then I can pinpoint and target the things that would seek to come in at my blind spot. Girl, Siri, why you be doing that? Ain't nobody even say Siri. And so basically, he took that one hit and he was like, okay, I know where you are. And then he ran up there and then he took dude out. And he was like, what? How did you know where I am? And he was like, because I know what my blind spot is. And if you're attacking me from my blind spot, I know where you are. Hello, duh. But like, that is what we come into when we do that assimilation and integration. When we know our own weaknesses, we know how to compensate for it, right? That's why sometimes that's why I said a long time ago, it's like, when you understand double energy, like, you know what it's there for. And it's like, okay, if you're trying to distract me from this, if you're trying to deter me from this, then there must be something there that I need. Because if I didn't need it, you wouldn't try to be distracting me from it, right? You wouldn't be putting up this detour sign if I wasn't on the right path. And so that's kind of sort of this dynamic over here. It's us learning to accept our light and our dark to come together into something forward, but it's also for us to be able to fully accept that, and to not just step away from something because it's uncomfortable, or because it doesn't look pretty, or because it doesn't fit the pretty, like, little box narrative that we have for ourselves, right? If it's us regardless. And to neglect that and try to move forward with some element or some form of mastery is for that mastery to be inherently flawed, because you're missing pieces of yourself. It's like, right? It's like, I don't know, trying to become a math person when you never learn how to divide. And it's like, as long as you do addition, subtraction, and multiplication, then you're fine. But when it comes to division, like, you can't do that. So it's like, how good are you going to be able to be? Because sometimes you're going to have to divide. Right? So it's very much that feeling. And it's also that would lead to people entering spaces of confusion where they feel that they should have more, do more, or know more. And it's like, okay, well, look how far you've come without integrating that one piece of you. Look at how you still don't see that as a piece of you. It's like you're not going to be able to get further without that piece. So now we're coming into, this was the Hierophant and this was the moon. So we have the Hierophant and the moon, which is Taurian energy and Piscean energy. This is interesting because so on the gray side, right, is the Hierophant. On the green side is gray and green, two G's, GRE, or GRA, but GREY or GREEN. Y or N, yes or no? Oh my gosh. The Y is the heart, the EN is the N, like the letter N is the gray. The heart is a yes, the gray is a no. The heart is I'm going to fully love myself and accept me for all of who I am. And the no is like, oh, that part of me is a little ugly. Ooh, that part of me gets taken advantage of. That part of me is just weird. So I'm gonna keep the pieces that I like and move forward, and neglect the ones that I don't like. And the heart is like, I am going to give birth to myself with myself. And the gray side is like, what? Like that part of me deserves no love. And maybe it's because it's never found love in someone else, but it could always find love in you if you choose. Or not. It's your life. So on the moon side of things, we have this, I think, again, I'm feeling like it's the gray side that would be confused in times like this, but it's the green side that would be, it's like not all who wander are lost. So it's like the gray side is lost and the green side is wandering, right? And the difference is it's the element of trust, right? Trusting, knowing that you are preparing for something, that what you've been preparing for is coming, that there is more preparation to be done, and that whatever you are doing is in preparation for this thing. Whatever you are feeling, it's to be felt and addressed. It leads somewhere, right? Not all who wander are lost, but if you're lost, it's like, I don't know what's coming. I don't know what's happening. I feel like something is about to come, but I don't know what to do. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And like nothing is making sense. And I need a sign. I need an answer. I need this. I need that. I need everything you need. You already have, right? The green side is the wandering, knowing that everything you need you already have, knowing that you've already been prepared for this and that you are continuously preparing, that anything that you do, anything you feel led to do, is to prepare you even further or to show you how much you've prepared for this. It's like you've been doing the preparation in the background, and maybe this is like I'm about to interject a little bit. It's like you've been doing the preparation in the background, and the moments that you're coming to now is doing something with that preparation. So you are coming into these moments of strength. You are coming into everything that you know you should have been doing in the first place. And it's not that you should have been doing it in the first place again, because before you had the thing that could blend, refrigerate, and do whatever else, you had to have the three separate appliances. But now you have this one that can do it all. You can drop the three and continue with the one. And so there are some people who would hold four, right? Because something used to work so well or whatever. And it's like, well, if you hold four, you're holding too much. 10 of wands, you need to drop something. 10 of swords, you need to drop something, right? Now, if you have the one and you're moving forward, then that's 10 of cups, 10 of pentacles. They're both a one, right? It's like you get to the 10 and you drop everything that you don't need. Boom, you start at the ace, you're at a one again, 10 of cups, 10 of pentacles. If you hold on to everything, then it's like you stay at that 10 and you keep trying to move forward with that 10. And then it's like 10 of swords, 10 of wands. You're overburdened, overtaxed. Yeah, you got too much. You already got the one thing, you can drop the three. Where am I going with this? So that's the difference between the moon and the Hierophant. The Hierophant seeks answers. The Hierophant demands answers. The Hierophant follows codes that, regardless of if they uphold or regardless of if they age well or not, the Hierophant upholds things that are centuries at least old a lot of times, that were written for a different time. and they're written for a different time in the space that humanity is evolving. And so, if humanity is ever evolving, it in some ways needs a spirituality that is ever evolving in some ways. And in one perspective, one of many perspectives, none necessarily more right than others, but in one perspective, it's almost the case of if your spirituality in general has been able to stand for that long, how much evolution have you missed out on? That we have to continue to sort of guide and show and tell you the same things that we had to show and guide and tell people thousands of years ago, right? You should have evolved beyond the point where this is even necessary anymore, where we could come into something like, like where we can go to the next level. And that's kind of sort of the thing with like that I've kind of sort of been, I guess, hoping for with astrology. It's like it makes like I understand it's a science first and foremost. It's based in patterns, founded on patterns, because patterns is the only way we can truly understand the stars, right? Or understand how it affects us. But again, it's like, have we really evolved since it started? Or are we more or less doing the same things where we other people and then we will mistreat others, where we will need to think of ourselves as better than others and where we will operate out of that better and then do questionable things to people, right? Or is this kind of sort of something that we've been doing for a long time? From one land to another, from one culture to another, across echoing throughout time. And so, if we keep facing these same interactions with these planets, then of course, like it always plays out the same way. But that's because more or less we're always the same. But when we become different, it's like we interact with them in a different way, right? Why are we continuously moving through space, but not at the same time? It doesn't look like we are from where we sit in the universe and from where we look at the sun, but like we have moved. And I think that's the thing with the moon. The moon is all about that subtle knowing, that subtle knowledge, that subtle awareness, and that subtle understanding of feeling the undertow, right? Whereas the Hierophant is, it's almost like Hierophant energy is like if ever you encounter a new space, you just do whatever you used to do, regardless of if it works in the space or not. And it's looking like it's not working in this space. And so again, that would lead to feeling lost because it's like I'm doing everything that I used to do. Why am I not feeling more whatever? I'm looking at everything I used to look at. Why am I not feeling more whatever? I'm going to all of the sources that used to be valuable for me, but now it's like I still get insight from them, yes, but it also seems like I'm not moving forward either. It's like it's Torian energy. It's fixed. You got a bull or a fish. And that bull is not going to move. That's a cow. That's one cow you can't tip. You're not going to tip the bull. You got to learn how to flow around it. So next, we're coming into the chakras. So on the heart side, on the yes side, with the GREY, I guess this is a Y now. Oh, that's kind of a Y. What's Y? Is this Y in sign language? Or is this Y or something like that? I know this is N, right? This is M, N, O, J, Z. Jay Z. Let me stop. Um, it's just interesting how we have the GREY and the GREEN. Hold on, wait. I did that backwards. The gray set is the yes and the green set is the no. Ew. That don't feel right. I feel like the green set is the yes. So green is spelled GREEYN now, and gray is spelled GRENEY, but the N is silent. I don't know. Anyway, so where are these? The two and the two. Oh, so we have a 22 on the gray side. So how I take it is the chakras are they spin in multiple directions. Oops. So at least this is how I learned it. So if you approach the chakras from the front, they spin clockwise. But if you approach them from the back, they spin counterclockwise. I think. Oh, I can't remember now. I should know. I've only done it like twice, but I think they spin. Yeah, they spin counterclockwise from the back, and then they spin clockwise from the front. I'm pretty sure. And there's also like the way I learned it. There are three channels in the body. You have the feminine channel, the masculine channel, and then that center channel. And the Kundalini is housed in that center channel. And so with like getting both sides of the sacral chakra. Oh, I mean, it's kind of sort of tragic in the fact that, that's the home of the Kundalini. So if we're getting stuck at the sacral, then Kundalini energy I don't even know if it's up because it ain't gone nowhere. Right now, if we were like at both sides of the heart, it's like, the Kundalini has awakened and it has risen to our heart level and it is purifying our heart before it can rise to the throat. But like Kundalini sleep. She sleep. Divine Mother energy is sleep at home and the sacral. And so the feminine side of something it can be more past focused, and the masculine side of something is more futures focused. The feminine side is more desires focused. The masculine side is more logic focused. And again, I guess it's fitting that the nine of essences came out with these because again, that was all about not yet being fully integrated within ourselves. And there's also this feeling of trying to proceed forward as if we were. And I mean, like I said, like, to try to maintain or achieve any level of mastery when you're not fully healed or whatever is for that to be inherently flawed. And here we can see the Kundalini energy not even up. Like she's asleep at home. I mean, like I feel like she's not asleep. She's in like lockdown. Kundalini energy is in lockdown. She's like up and she wants to go outside, but we're keeping her in lockdown by not integrating all the things that we need to integrate, by not facing all of the things that we need to face. And with this being the gray set, it's like us not accepting our own shadow, right? It's like you can't just act like it's not happening, or you can't just pretend like it's not there. Because to neglect the shadow is to allow it to run rampant and do whatever it does, more or less, maybe less. But regardless, you can't move forward without it because your ability to bear light is directly affected by your ability to manage the dark, right? If you can't manage like a breadcrumb worth of shadow, how are you like thinking you're going to get a whole loaf worth of light, right? If you can't manage a breadcrumb of shadow, you're probably not even going to get a breadcrumb of light. But what you can do is reflect someone else's light. So maybe you could be better at reflecting someone else's light than harnessing and honing and living in your own. And then you become a piece of space junk that looks shiny and bright. And like, if you're a kid and you look up at space junk in the sky and you think it's a star, it's a star. It doesn't matter, right? But once you begin to know better, it's like, oh, I thought that was a star, but that's no twinkle. So that's just space junk. Well, maybe we'll see stars tomorrow night. I don't know why I keep going back to this. I do know why I keep going back to this, but at the same time, I don't know why I keep going back to this. And it's not necessarily my intention to keep going back to this, but I mean, hey, we're in the middle of this right now. And before this is over, I guess if I have to be on this, just like I was on like since like what beginning of February when I noticed that hey, when I look at this thing, it's confirmed. And when I look at that thing, it's confirmed. It's almost like And again, like how I was able to, and I guess it's always been my test moving forward, or I know it's my test, at least for me moving forward, for sure. Now, when it comes to the collective, then, it may or may not be. But just like in the dream, it's like I can listen to other people and I can look at my own questions and I can be like, it's almost like whatever space I am in internally is what is being confirmed to me externally. And the fact that I can literally be on two sides of the same situation and have both things be confirmed says to me that I am choosing, and that and like not like this is something that by that point I already knew. It's something that a lot of us say that we know. But it's like, and like I really had that moment because like my emotions were in that space where it would like go both ways. Maybe the moon was in Cancer. Maybe it wasn't. I was like, regard, like, because I could feel one way, something happened. 10 minutes later, feel a completely different way. Refresh my YouTube and see all these titles that are like reflecting this, reflecting that, reflecting this, and I'm like, where's everything that I just saw like literally minutes ago? I was like, something here ain't right. Something here is up. And then I came to the conclusion that before it was like that was the driving test, right? Because I was going to say before we get into our chariots. So this 9 right here, this is a chariot energy. So on the gray set, this is someone who can't get the light horse and the dark horse on the same page. And so they're trying to move forward, but they're not really making any progress because the horses are like not on the same page. On the green set, as we are aligning those two and creating something, we are getting the horses on the same track and we're actually making progress. Right. And it's like if you have one horse with 4 legs and the spirit to run, and then you have another horse with 3 legs who is more focused on the leg that they don't have than continuing to run, then you're not like they're not even, you're not going to get to where you want to be. And you can have a horse with 3 legs, right? But if that horse is determined to keep running, that horse will keep running. And so it's not a matter really of whether it has like what the horses look like, it's what the horses feel like, right? And what they're doing. I'm getting lost. Let me try. I'm not getting lost, but it's like it's building itself out and I'm trying to hone in on something. It's stream of consciousness. Everything I do is stream of consciousness. I can't be anybody who I'm not. This is me. If I come back to it, I come back to it. If I don't, I don't. Um, I'm gonna finish my assignment today, by the way. So I'm excited about that. Ooh, I'm really excited about that. Okay. Um, so we're talking about the feminine and the masculine side of the that I was talking about the chariot. I also, I wanted to find that dream because I had a dream a long time ago that I was talking about. Okay, yeah, that's what I was talking about. The chariot. It was February when I noticed it was like, and then that's what I started saying on my channel. It's like Spirit has given us the keys to the car and they're asking us to drive. Some people will drive, some people won't drive. Some people will give their keys to someone else and hope that that person takes them in the way that they're going. And then, come to find out through whatever means of whatever, we have all of these people who would call themselves whatever on the platform now saying that they're moving on to something else. And it's not that people can't move on to something else because, it's not all of our journeys to be on one thing for like the rest of our lives. There are phases to the journey. There are different ways that we serve. And if we feel that we can serve better in a different way, in a different capacity, then it's for us to do that. Right. But at the same time, now you start to see these other people. It's coming out like this person is a scammer, that person is a scammer. They're just taking your money. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. And it's like all of that really coming to the surface when, at least for me, I've been seeing it since like February, plainly since February, but we were already in the space of learning this in the past, that we need to be more connected to self than to someone else. And then it's like, oh, now people are getting taken advantage of and people are out of money. Like you gave your keys to someone else who didn't have a car, hoping that they would take you where you wanted to go and then would drop themselves off. It's like, no, like I may, like, if we're in the neighborhood, we may stop by where you want to go, but I'm going to run the errands I need to run because I don't have a car, but now I do. Thanks for the keys. And you're just like, wait, like what? Like we're doing this and we're doing that and we're doing this and we're doing that. Like all I wanted to do was go to the store. And they're like, well, you should have driven yourself to the store, right? Because it's an exchange, right? It's like they're not going to just drive you to where you need to go and then like not go where they need to go, right? If you're asking them to drive you somewhere, then you know they got to get something out of it too. You may have given more than you bargained for, but you had the keys, you could have driven yourself. Now some people just sit in the car waiting for somebody else to come in and drive because maybe in the past Spirit drove a lot and we didn't necessarily like have to drive as much, right? So it's like some people were in the car sitting waiting for Spirit to come and get them to be wherever they wanted to be, and Spirit's like, you have the keys, we're not coming to drive anymore. And now we're in this space that we're in now, where it's like some people are going to be like behind the reins of their chariots and moving forward. Other people are going to be behind the reins of their chariot and going in circles and going off road and doing all kinds of things. And other people, other people are going to be stuck and stagnant, waiting for everything to resolve itself. And again, that was reflected in the forest, right? It's like we're all in this forest, and the mist rolls in super thick. The people who navigate out of the forest first will come into some element of mastery, and the people who make some movement will come into whatever they come into. And then the people who just stand there and wait for the fog to lift will be the people who just sit there and wait for things to happen. And it's like, the fog is going to lift at some point. But if you can navigate out of the forest before that happens, like, and that's the realm of the moon, right? That's like, and that's what all of this has been about. It's learning to operate within the realm of the subconscious, learning to, because it's like through all of these waves of ascension symptoms, and through all of these waves of increased sensitivity, like you can't be sensitive enough to learn how to navigate in the realm of the moon now. Like, what is this all for? To have you in the bed feeling miserable? And like, I went to bed at 10 o'clock last night. I laid in my bed at 10. I got up out of my bed at like 9 something today. So I finally got some sleep. I'm feeling good. Like I wasn't able to sleep for like a month. And I was like, last time I wasn't able to sleep like this, it was after that eclipse in January. And I was like, man, it's probably that eclipse coming up. I'm just glad that, I can sleep now. Now when the solar eclipse happens, maybe I don't know. I don't know. I ain't gonna speak nothing because I'm enjoying my sleep. My dreams have been illuminating as well. But anyway, like that's why we've been getting increasingly sensitive as for us to learn how to navigate in these subtle realms. And like I said, like after that, it was like this picture that has been unfolding. And then it's like, we've all been the thing with the smoke signals, how one person lights a smoke signal and then that someone else lights a smoke signal and someone else lights a smoke signal. And us lighting those smoke signals was coming into the space of awakening. But once enough of those fires were lit, then that's when this fog rolled in, right? And it's like this fog had to roll in because like everything is a projection, right? And so there was this one story being projected that we decided we didn't want to be a part of anymore. Hence the Great Awakening and the changing of things and the feeling of this change coming. But in order for that change to happen, excuse me, free will is still a thing. So we still have to, like, not only do we have to want it, not only do we have to choose it, we also have to act in alignment with it. And so it rolled in this fog that would distort the light from the projection. Ew, ew. It would roll in this fog that distorted the light from the projection so that, we weren't subjected to whatever all those illusions were. But at the same time, it blocked out other light as well. So that's why it feels dark. That's why it feels like this. And like psychologically, and I'm not a psychologist, I haven't even taken a psych class, so take it with a grain of salt. But psychologically, if you are the type of person that's always had someone telling you what to do, a lot of times people like that don't know what to do with freedom. And so they run out and they seek some other system, something else to fall under, something else to be governed and ruled by in that moment of darkness. And so that's why some people are feeling lost. And again, it's for various reasons to various degrees, but it's like that's why some people are feeling lost in this moment of darkness, when like this is the exact moment. It's like, people manifesting things not knowing what you're manifesting. Like you're asking for something grand, to receive it, you're going to have to be greater. So you're asking for the opportunities to be shown your weaknesses, to be shown where you fall, to be shown your darkness so you can heal it, integrate it, and rise to the occasion. Because like you can't, like when you manifest the thing, like you're manifesting being able to have it at the same time. And if you can't have it, if you're not responsible enough for it where you are, you're also manifesting more responsibilities. And people will be like, oh, why are things getting so hard? Well, you asked for world peace. You manifested this for Gaia. You manifested awakening. Like, how did you think that would come about? Did you just think that one day you'd wake up and everything would be perfect? Like, no. You're manifesting opportunities to make it that way. And you're manifesting these growth opportunities to put you in the space to make sure that you make it that way. And that's the difference between this moon and this Hierophant. Again, like the Hierophant would be the people on the gray side, on this 9 side, would be the people who run to one system when another one falls apart. When, like I said, in reality, with this 3 on the green side, it's like we've been led to tap into everything within us, because it's everything within us that is of the moon realm anyway. Everything within us is in the dark, right? Everything outside of us is in the light. So when there's no light, we should be able to be guided by the things that are within us. And that's why it's also important to have a healthy relationship, to have a healthy shadow, first of all, and to have a healthy relationship with it, because then you can use that to navigate these periods of darkness. And it's not all dark, right? It's like it's that natural habitat, right? Just like people like to domesticate all kinds of animals, not calling the shadow an animal, but just like how in the caveman days, maybe there would be people who would learn to hunt alongside other animals. It's a symbiotic relationship where we both benefit. You don't eat me, I don't eat you. We can go eat something else, right? We can live together. It's that thing. It's supposed to be symbiotic. And that's this moon space where we can navigate everything. Because this is also part of what we were preparing for. And so there are these people who would come into even greater levels of intuition and who would experience even greater growth. And that's another thing that this darkness is sort of giving us the ability to do. It's like would be those who would learn to rapidly evolve and adjust to the situation so we can like live in the dark, right? Just like the fish at the bottom of the sea where ain't no light. It's kind of like that. And then you got these anglerfish, Hierophant energies that would bring this light in the darkness to get all these little fish to come in. And they're all gathering by this light, like, oh my gosh, like finally some light in the darkness. And then the jaws of the anglerfish open up and they get them. Like, how desperate are you for that light that you would go to a false light and then get anglerfished? Talking about catfish, people getting anglerfished nowadays. So now we're moving into the 7 and the 5, which is the Scorpio on the hard side and the Leo on the gray side. And I feel like that's fitting, right? Talking about the anglerfish. Well, here we have a Leo energy. It's like, oh, I can be your son. You're looking for some light. I got some light. Come into my lighthouse, won't you? If you're looking for some light. It's like one of those scary movies where it's like there's something that happens and all of the power goes out in the town, and there are these people who replace people that come in, and so you have these weary travelers who are just like who are like stopping through this town on their way to get to wherever they're going. And they're like, "Oh, like I can house you for the night." And they're like, "Oh no, we'll continue." It's like, "No, it's no problem. Like we've got plenty of food and everything's fine." And they're like, "No, like really, we should keep going. We should keep going." Like, "No, like don't worry about it. You can rest the night here, and then you be well rested and refreshed for the morning." And they're like, "Okay, well, I am kind of hungry and tired." And so they go into the house, they get locked into the house, things fall apart. You find out that the nice old lady is some crazy demonic spirit thing that takes the guise of a nice old lady who lures in weary travelers, and only one person makes it out when it was a group of 10. Like that's that Leo, not that Leo energy is bad, but that's the energy of this false light with Leo being a sign, the energy of these false signs, these angler fish in these dark times. When it's like, if you know you should keep going, you should keep going, right? And that's the Scorpio. Scorpio was like, something in my gut is telling me that this lady is trying way too hard to get me in her house, and I don't even know her. And it's like she's wearing the guise of someone who cares about me, right? That's the mask. She's wearing the guise, but Scorpio can see beyond the mask. Like we have moon energy and then we have Scorpio energy coming right after it, right? But you could also, and I guess like that's the thing I was talking about when I thought the green side was the Y and the gray side was the EN. No, you can see how with this Hierophant, with this Leo energy, with everything over here, with you being closer to completion with the nine, or being at a space of completion with the nine, closer to a new cycle than with the three on the other side. Like the side of this that is more comforting to the human spirit, and honestly more comforting to how it seems like we've been conditioned to be dominated, or to not really have to think for ourselves. And when we get tired of one story, we just go adopt another story that, we can adopt everything and think that we're thinking for ourselves. You can see how this gray side is a lot more comfortable and a lot lighter than the green side, where we have the moon and we have a three and we have the scorpionic energy. I didn't even talk about the heart and the crown on the other side, but I feel like I didn't have to, because that was part of the story I was talking about at the same time. So on the other side, Kundalini is up. At the very least, she's at the throat. At the very least, she's at the throat. It's the throat and the crown, the 5 and the 7, right? On the other side, Kundalini is stuck in the house. On the gray side, she's stuck in the house at the 2. On the other side, she's at least to the throat. So she's already gone through the heart, right? And so this is about speaking the truth, and it's about receiving truth. And so in turn, it's about speaking the truth that you receive. And it's almost like when you speak more of your own truth, it expands your vessel to accommodate you to receive more. And then it becomes this, it's almost like, it's like a chanting on this side, on the green side, because it's like it's like you're speaking light, or the light with the crown as you receive the light. And then, ow, I need to cut my nails. As you receive the light, and then as you speak it, it's like your breath carries that light with it. Now, this light is different than the light of the anglerfish, because this light, oof, I have this mug up there and it was looking dangerously close to the edge. And my selenite ball fell yesterday, and I'm not trying to get that mug to fall today. I don't even know why that's still up there. Um, but it's like this light is different than the light of the anglerfish, because it's less, the purpose of this light is not to entice. The purpose of this light is to inspire in some ways and then maybe to awaken in others. Where I feel like it's the anglerfish that would entice you to it. And then it's like once it gets enough fish, because it wants to make sure it gets all of the fish in the area once it before it opens its jaws, right? Because if you got a fish on the outside that sees this happening and then they see that light come back on, they're like, well, depending on the memory span of the fish, some of them will be like, ooh, that like something they just got swallowed over there. Now some fish will see that and then the light, like they see the light on, they see this, and then they see the light come back on. Some fish will see all of it and then swim over there because they already forgot what happened, right? So, but on the other side, it's like going back to the forest. It's like there are these people as they speak, and it's almost like a chant. It's almost like chanting. But it's like the more they speak, the brighter the light gets in their vicinity. And I guess I kind of felt that before. It was like, there will be these people who embody their own light and they become these lights in the shroud of this fog that then they have this air of clarity that surrounds them because they're learning to be stars, right? We're in the dark. Nothing in our solar system besides the sun produces its own light. Everything else in our solar system reflects the sun's light. All of the planets in the sky. That's why they go retrograde, right? And even the moon, even though the moon doesn't go retrograde, it goes dark. The only thing that's always a light is the sun, and the fog is so thick that we're not like it's still light outside, but spiritually, metaphorically, it's dark, right? And so that's why we need to open up our own lights, throw in some kindling, and you know, push out the fog a little bit. And then maybe that's how we'll get rid of it too. When enough people come into their light that it like then expands outward and then it pushes up the fog a little bit for us to see something, for us to see the things beneath the things, if that makes sense. Probably not, but it's also reminding me of Over the Garden Wall, where they have this lantern and this dude is told that like the soul of his daughter is in this lantern and that he needs to keep the lantern filled or he needs to keep the lantern lit to keep our soul alive. And so there are these trees that they use to fuel the lantern, and you find out by the end of the series that the trees are literally like all of the lost souls that found their way into the woods. It's like they become lost, and then like I don't want to ruin the whole thing, but I mean, if you're gonna watch it or if you haven't watched it, sorry, spoilers. But it's like this one character that is so innocent of heart and of mind and imagination, he gets tricked into buying into this fantasy, almost kind of sort of Pinocchio, I think, but not, because Pinocchio knew what he was doing. But this kid was innocent. He gets tricked into this false sense of this false wonderland, like Neptunian energy to the extreme. And it's very much that feeling of like, when you're dying of like hypothermia and frostbite, one of the last things you feel is a sense of warmth, right? Even though you were so cold, once you begin to feel warm, you're dangerously close to it being over. Because if you're still under layers and layers and layers of snow, and if it's still like freezing cold outside and you're starting to feel warm, that's not natural, right? And so he like bought into it, and then by the end, you see him turning into this tree. And then that's when you're like, oh my gosh, like these are like all of these trees are lost souls. And so you're feeding these lost souls to maintain this one soul. And then there were two characters. There was the skeptic, right? And then there was the innocent, the skeptic and the innocent. And oddly enough, it was the innocent one that got tricked, and it was the skeptic that had to save him. But then the skeptic ended up getting the lantern, and the skeptic was told by the beast, now this person's soul, now the naive person's soul is in the lantern. And to keep his soul alive, you got to keep it lit, right? And then there was something about the flyer and something about the monster where the skeptic was able to piece it together. And he was like, wait, like, no. He was like, this is your soul. Like, your soul is in this lantern. I'm feeding these lost souls to you. And it was so weird because, like, there's this lore in the story. There's a lore of this monster that feeds on lost souls. But the monster feeds on lost souls by getting other people to feed it to this lantern, by deceiving other people into thinking that they are lost and that they have lost, that someone that they have lost is in this lantern when in reality it's his soul. So he like blows out the lantern, he lets it die, and then the monster vanishes and they come out of the forest, right? And so that's very much this like it's in here, you know? And we got two sides. We got the happy-go-lucky kid right here who gets tricked in the gray set, where it's like Hierophant energy, Leo energy, all of this like this light instability and these dark times, anglerfish. And then on the moon side is the skeptic, is someone who like looks beneath the surface with the Scorpio energy, who can more easily sort of like make sense out of everything that's not making sense with that moon energy, who is like he was a skeptic and he knew the things, the ways that he messed up. He knew, right? He didn't necessarily talk about it, but he knew. And then you have this kid who was just like none of his shadow, just all of his light, and he gets deceived. That's 9 versus the 3. Anyway, last but not least, we have the element of air on the hard side, on the green side, and then the element of earth on the gray side. And I didn't really speak of Scorpio. I kind of sort of spoke of, yeah, I spoke of the heart and the crown, right? That's building out these bubbles of light. And it's like, it's not like chanting, but it feels like some kind of invocation because, like, I mean, I don't know. I've played video games and I've watched movies, right? And whenever people cast a spell in video games and movies, there's an incantation, and they like speak like I don't know what the light spell from Harry Potter is, but you know, light spell, and then the wand lights up. It's like that. Like they're speaking it, and then it like light results. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. If all you're saying is "Let there be light," then that's the incantation. Let there be light, and then there was light. You know what I mean? So that's the heart and the crown. Or that's I keep saying the heart. That's the throat and the crown in the heart space, coming from the heart space, right? The Kundalini has healed, she has awoken and healed the heart, moving up to the throat. And it's like, I guess the more you speak, the more she heals that. So then she can move up to the third eye, clean that out. You'll be able to perceive more truth and then move up to the crown, do a little bit, and then boom. Like once the Kundalini rises and exits the crown, like you're golden, right? I haven't done my meditation in a long time. Oof, I'm starting to go warm back here. So then on the heart space, we have the element of air. Air is communication. Air is like water, but it's less dense. And so you can be in air, but not feel it like you would feel water. It's like air is so not dense that there aren't too many things that are buoyant in it. Now, if you get water and you get enough water, right, then you get like these buoyancy forces that will keep you floating at the top of the water. And so I guess with the element of air, we have to keep ourselves afloat because on the other side is earth. And it may feel stable. I feel like when it comes to air and when it comes to earth, this is an ability to see that things are changing, an ability to accept that things are changing, and it's an ability to move with that change. Because even the earth is always moving, even though it looks like it doesn't. And when we get an earthquake, then you can tell it's moving. But the plates, the tectonic plates are always moving, always shifting. We just can't tell that they're doing that until they collide with another one. And then you get this buildup of pressure and then something happens, right? But they're always moving. continental drift. It explains it. They're always moving. And so I feel like with the Earth again being on this on the anglerfish side, it's like being so stable in whatever you found yourself in that you don't it's like you're moving but you're not moving. It's almost like I just saw it's like there was this conveyor belt where you're moving forward and but you're moving so slow that like whatever, right? And it's almost like someone came and like shifted the gear. So now you're moving backwards, but it's so slow that you don't even notice. But everything is moving regardless. And like with this, like the Hierophant came out yesterday, so I read it, right? The Hierophant has the voice of 1,000 people. And so it's just like that anglerfish right now, things are moving forward regardless, right? But if in these times you fall to an anglerfish, depending on which side of things you choose, right? We got the Hierophant and we got Earth energy over here with this Leo supposed sun. It's like if that's the side you take, you're actually going to be moving backwards and you may not feel it. And it's almost like to be lost right now is a good thing because if you're lost, at least you're not, following an anglerfish. But an even better thing is to be wandering, not lost, but wandering because the moon in Scorpio came out on the other side. And I've been feeling moon energy so strong lately. Of even if you can't see it, you can feel it. Like it's also high priestess energy, right? Like even if you can't see it with your physical eyes, you know with your spiritual eyes and your spiritual mind that things are moving and things are shifting. And with that underlying chariot energy, you know what to align with and how to align yourself to move forward, right? Like you don't have to know the path ahead. It's almost like the horses know the way. It's just your job to keep the horses from fighting each other so you can keep moving forward. The horses know the way. That's their job, right? You as a charioteer, it's your job to keep the horses in line. It's not your job to know the way. So there's like this Six of Swords feeling at the same time, where like the ferryman knows the way. The ferryman knows where you're going. It's just for you to trust that you're being navigated in the right way. And there's a difference between trusting spirit and trusting man. And there's a difference between trusting spirit and trusting the spirits that a man represents at the same time. Now, if someone resonates within you, like you're like 100% like for sure, like, okay, yeah, this person is speaking truth, then maybe try to use them to find your own truths. Cause like I know I've been telling people like whenever I feel it extra heavy, like we have the keys, we need to drive, like stop watching all these readings, like don't even watch me right now. Like find all of this for yourself. So that's what I'm doing more or less. It's like there'll be some things that line up with it, some things that don't line up with it, and then there will be these other things that try to provide some sort of overarching whatever. And I'm like, I'd rather like find it myself right now. And I guess that's the interesting thing about South Node Capricorn at the same time. Where there's something about the energy right now that feels especially dubious. And it's not inherently misleading, but it's extremely easy to interpret it that way. And now that's why I'm like, oh, I don't like South Node Sagittarius because South Node Sagittarius just feels like it feels like man's natural like weakness, and South Node Sagittarius is like this shadow of the Hierophant energy, right? Um, because it's like with the South Node being in Capricorn for 18 months, and with the North Node being in Cancer, we've all come into maybe increasingly spiritual foundation, and so maybe we've neglected the old foundation in some way to establish a new one. But it's like as soon as we establish this new foundation, South Node Sagittarius is asking us to question everything that we believe. And it's not us questioning everything that we believe on a Gemini level. Because, like, if you're getting stuck on the Gemini level of, like, this is what I can perceive with my eyes, this is what is happening around me, like, you need to perceive beyond that. Because South Node is in Sagittarius. It's like the things behind the things you're seeing, behind why it's playing out this way. You need to go even deeper. Like Sagittarius is a very spiritual energy. So if you're not perceiving things or looking at things on like spiritual belief level, then it's like you're not going far enough. And again, it just feels so because it's like the physical is related to the spiritual, but it's almost like it's sacrificing part of itself to keep the greater structure alive. And so it's like, okay, well, if we show them this, if we show them that, because they know something is up, they can feel it changing. But let's say like this is the change. But with the North Node being a Gemini, South Node Sagittarius, what is that? See, this is another reason why it's just like, oh, well, because I mean, beyond the fact that like North Node Gemini is about actually doing something in your community to make these changes happen, right? Because Gemini is like the community, Sagittarius in the world. I guess ultimately at the end of the day, it's kind of sort of this energy of if we can all take care of our own communities, if we all rise to the occasion and take care of our own communities, then globally we'll be in a better position, right? And then what's community? Is community your like the nation that you live in? Is community the house that you live in? Is community the city that you live in? Is community the planet that you live in or on? Like, where do we define the barriers and boundaries between like Sagittarius collective global and Gemini local community? Because Gemini for sure is like outside of the self. But ultimately, like your heart will tell you, right? So on the earth side, things are moving slow. On the air side, things are picking up. Air is also an element with water of something that erodes something, right? Now, fire is an element of purification because it is quick. But when it comes to air and when it comes to water, they're elements of erosion because time is how they operate, right? But it's also realizing that, like, you still have to do something over time. It's about efforts building upon each other and doing something, making a change over time, right? I guess I still have these. So let's see. I'll just see what's on the top of the deck because I was shuffling it earlier and I got the title card right. So the top of the deck is the Seven of Swords. Bottom of the deck is the Magician. Under the Magician is the Ace of Wands. So Seven of Swords at the top of the deck, Magician at the bottom of the deck. Red skies at night, sailors delight. Red sky at morning, sailors take warning. I think we're in a red skies at morning, in a red skies at morning energy, because this is the beginning of something, right? And the thing in this card is this soldier, this Marine, has jumped ship, and he's taken all of the swords from the ship so that they can't hurt him anymore. This is Aquarian energy. This is Mercury energy, right? So he's taken all of their swords. He's taken their ability to hurt him, but he's also taken their ability to defend themselves. And there's also this energy of like, if you're not open, if you're not vulnerable, then you're also not open to receive anything. So if you are more interested in stealing and defending yourself than being open and vulnerable to all of this change coming in, then it's like you're gonna miss it, or you're gonna miss out, at least in part. Because if you're not vulnerable, it's like if you're not open to be hurt, then you're not open to receive. Right? It's just like with love, since a lot of people want to be about love nowadays. I mean, people have always been about love, and it's people are kind of sort of seemingly giving up on love nowadays. Maybe or maybe not. But it's like, you can't be open to receive a great love if you're not open to being hurt at the same time. And it's not about finding someone that will hurt you, but it's also about realizing and recognizing that your ability to receive is directly proportional and correlated to your ability to be open, like quite literally. And so with this Magician at the bottom, I feel like this is sort of amplifying the fact that like it's just that was it. The Seven of Swords and the Magician, like that was it. Right? To be open to miraculous things is to also be open to disappointment, right? To believe in a miracle is to also open yourself to the fact that, hey, maybe this won't happen. But at the same time, it's not to get consumed by the possibility that it won't happen, but it is to understand that there is a possibility that it won't, right? Whenever you look at the light of a situation, you must also prepare yourself for the dark of it. And to try to look at one without the other is to um, just be inherently unable to get to wherever you want to go. Right? Okay, so I'm gonna shut this down now. It's not even noon yet. Psych, it's noon 30. I'm about to go get me some lunch real quick. I'm about to knock out this assignment, and maybe I'll start the next one, because it's definitely time for me to move in my personal life. So but I guess I gotta move in my spiritual life too. It's all about doing both, and I have the capability to do both. I just pretend like I don't. I've actually noticed about myself, I kind of sort of pretend like I can't do a lot of things that I can do. I don't know if it's the Pisces in me. And before I came live, I was on Twitter for a little bit, and somebody was like, um, people call Aries the babies of the zodiac, but have you ever noticed that when people get older, they kind of like turn into babies? And so um, it's almost like Aries and Pisces are the big babies of the zodiac. But like a lot of astrologers already say that about Pisces anyway, because again, it's like later in life, and some people be like Pisces people be acting like they can't do nothing. They always want somebody to help them. And I was like, my mom is a Pisces, but she'll call me a Pisces too. So I'd be like, well, my mom is a Pisces, so true, and she'd be like, well, my son is a Pisces, so true. I'm not like that a lot, but with her, I can be. Um, what was I bringing that up for? Oh yeah, because there are some things that like I kind of sort of act like I can't do. Kind of sort of when I was taking that test, I guess. Well, even like I knew I would figure it out, but in the moment, I was just like, I don't know what's going on. And um, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna shut this down. Excuse me. It may be time to take a nap. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this. And I hope that you are out there in there doing the things that you need to do to get the things that you want instead of just asking for the things that you want, because the things that you want were delivered yesterday. Are you going to unpack them? Are you going to assemble them? Or are you going to wait until someone comes to do it for you when like they don't offer that service? Like they do fulfillment and they do delivery, but they don't do assembly. Like we got to do assembly ourselves.